Okay, I think we're good to go. So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this beautiful afternoon. Hopefully, maybe some of you are watching on your phone outside so you can enjoy the sun a bit. Thank you for joining us for our monthly meeting this month on the DC Office of Planning's newly launched Demographic Data Hub. The Demographic Data Hub is an online interactive information service that provides reliable, up-to-date data on the demographics of the district. The information is presented in geographic profiles, policy, interactive, and downloadable maps, open data search, report studies, and other downloadable resources that users can incorporate into their research and data products. The HUD was built by the OP Data Analysis and Visualization Unit in collaboration with the Environmental Systems Research Institute, the SRI, and the DC Office of the Chief Technology Officer, and uses many of the features of the ArcGIS platform and solutions templates. The impact, hopeful impact of how things are going to go with this, the data featured covers a variety of citywide, ward, and census tract level indicators ranging from population size to household income, which includes a snapshot of key DC demographic statistics, district-wide and ward profiles that will help residents, government agencies, and community leaders access data and analysis to understand the district's needs on a deeper level. We are happy to be joined today by Joy Phillips, the Associate Director of the District's State Data Center, and Jamie Chandler, Data Visual Analyst. And, oops, I think we've lost Joy. I think she might be having some technical issues. Jamie, should I turn it over to you, or should we give Joy?
Let me just see if she called me. Let me just give her a quick call, sorry.
Sure. It's the, like the Zoom era during the pandemic, we all suffer these technical issues all the time.
Yeah. Did you unmute? Okay.
Well, we're just getting a chance for more people to join us before the program starts.
Okay. Sorry for the delay.
Joy's back.
Okay. You were muted and then you unmuted.
And now she's muted again.
There you go.
There we go. Joy, can you hear us?
They can't hear you. All right, well, I'm going to get going on the presentation.
Okay. And we'll have our staff try to work with Joy so that she's
going to try to work it out. Okay.
Okay, so Jamie Chandler, Data Visual Analyst with OP, I'm going to turn it over to you to go through the presentation.
Okay, and you can all see my presentation, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like we can hear Joy now. Joy, can you try saying something? Oh, no, I guess not. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
All right, so my name is Jamie Chandler. Thank you for inviting me and Joy to speak today. We're really excited to share with you the Demographic Data Hub. Just quickly a bit about me. I'm the data visualization, one of the data visualization analysts, and on a team in OP, my job is to make data intuitively understandable for people who are not data scientists. And my visualizations will work to help provide analytical and decision-making support for the agency. So I'm just going to provide a brief overview of the hub, and then I'll get right into the demo. decided to develop this hub site as the next generation of our original DataViz website that we launched about 2 years ago. And that site had a lot of visualizations built with Tableau, but we had a lot of requests for other features that we felt we could really kind of bring the data to a more robust level to not only provide snapshots of information, but also bring in maps and data libraries, and also libraries for some of our other research and analytical assets. So we built the first one we built with Tableau and regular website development. This one we built with ArcGIS and Esri, which is a company that owns ArcGIS, and they have a series of tools that really let you do more robust presentation of geographic and regular data. And we used a couple tools for this. One was ArcGIS Online, which is how we made the maps, which I'll show you. And then we use a tool called Data Hub, which is the shell of this website, which you'll see is what's holding everything in. And we used a tool called Business Analyst, which helped us build the infographic reports, which I'll show you. And finally, there's this other tool called Experience Builder, which lets you do more customization with data navigation and so forth. So from a data standpoint, as one of the big responsibilities of our team is to oversee and manage all of our state data. And a lot of the state data comes from the U.S. Census Bureau. So what we're featuring in this site is the American Community Survey and the decennial censuses. As you know, the decennial census is conducted every 10 years, and then the American Community Survey is conducted every year, and it's kind of consolidated into a 5-year cycle. It gets a lot of information on demographics and socioeconomic characteristics of the population. Our primary audience for this website is DC government agencies, researchers, students, and obviously residents. So we wanted this to kind of offer these different groups of people ways to get the information that they need, also factoring in the complexity level of these various audiences. So I'm going to move in now to the actual demo. Let me just stop sharing for a second and switch over to the hub. And you can see that, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so this is the Open Demographic Data Hub. And when you come to the site, you will see this, and I'm going to scroll down the page and just give you a high-level sense of what all the content components are, and then I'll work with these navigation menus to go into the specific groups. We came up with 2 different ways of navigating. The top menu is something, you obviously typically see this in any website you've been to. This kind of lets you go quickly to something that you want. And then we have this long layout, which is like a newspaper, which lets you scroll through, and you may not have been to the website before, you just want to explore, and this is a good way to kind of get right in there and see it. So the first piece of this is demographic data at a glance. And what this is we get a set, we have a common set of data points that we often get requests on from various audience members of the DC government, the mayor's office, and so forth. So we thought that we would just put this at the top. It's a quick way to see what the numbers are, and you can, you don't have to go through some big process of calling somebody to get it. So as you can see here, it's just, some of the most typical ones: the size of our population, number of households, median household income, the percentage of people who use public transport, median rent, our average median age, and so forth, poverty rate, employer establishment. So that's a quick way to get those numbers. The next piece is something that's much more detailed and allows you to get a lot more wealth of information. And this section is called the data profiles. So now you can go into this and actually get a report. And it's also interactive, which I'll show you. So the way we set this up is we have these series of reports that include all this data, all these different pieces of information. It's infographic, so you can think visually. And we divide it up by the three main geographies of the city. District-wide, ward level, we have 8 wards, which is how we divided up DC for legislative purposes. And then we have 10 planning areas, which is how the Office of Planning looks at the city for, land use and all kinds of stuff like that. So the first one is the district-wide profiles, and what content is in these reports here will vary slightly by geography because some data is not available on different geographical levels. But on the DC profile one, it's a 2-page report, and you can navigate by seeing that page number here. You can also download it. You can print it to PDF, and you can size it if you have other things going on your desktop. So we've broken up the report into a couple segments to help you zero in on something you might be looking for. We have population, income, education, household, we have the age pyramid, at-risk populations, and then you can click this to go to the next page. Unemployment, commuting, internet access, annual household spending, annual lifestyle. And then we have some fun ones too. These didn't come from the Census Bureau per se, but you can see what the most popular pet is in DC. You can see retail spending, and then this is just some geographic information on the city, like what is our daytime population, how big is the state, the city, and so forth. So I'll just show you some of this. Excuse me. So if you click on them, you'll be able to see a graph pop up. Now it's not going to be all, but if you are exploring around, you'll be able to see how, like, when I popped over this, that little gray box popped up and just says explore more. But when you go to median age, you don't get that. So there's not for everything, but if I click on this link here, you actually see a graph and it updates. So we're going to be making an update to some of these numbers based on our new census data that's come in, as well as census data that's coming in February. So it also is data that's going to be relatively fresh based on the release schedule of the places where we get our information. So, like, for example, this is useful for people because they might want to see the trend and also get the specific numbers. You can do a couple things in here. You can export it, you can print it, and so forth. Look at another one here. This is the median household income for DC. This is a table, so it's a little different. So why you might see a graph is because we have time series data, which is data that has been taken every year over time, and then we have census data that goes back several years. But in the table format is when you're just looking at one specific year of information. So as you can see here, this particular table breaks out household income by percentage. So you can see what the percentage of the population is in different income bands. You can go down here to education, for example. We get a top line number, which breaks out the different degrees of education and the percent of the population that's achieved that has that educational attainment. You can also look at the numbers for specific education levels, the top 3, associate, bachelor's, and so forth. We have total households, same style as the population, and so forth. So these reports are pretty interesting. Like, we wanted to take a different approach. Typically what you see on some data websites is either a spreadsheet or just a graph. So we wanted to give people a much more in-depth way of exploring information, but also make it intuitively understandable. So that's a district-wide one. I'll click over to the wards. So with the ward one, we've got a little bit of different way to navigate. And in this case, you can click on a map block. And then if you click this magnifying glass, it'll take you to the ward report with the key indicators. So it's a smaller set than what you see on the district-wide one, because as I said, some of the data points aren't available. But again, it's same type of.
Hello.
Go ahead, Joy.
Hello.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Well, at least you can hear me now. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we've got the age pyramid. Now you might notice these little toolbars that pop up. So people might ask, okay, what's a specific breakdown of some bar in the graph? If you mouse over it, you can see what those numbers are. So here we have population distribution in Ward 4. You get 2,678 women age 65 to 69 and 1,786 men. And also you can click on some of these buttons to see the trends again. This is the table for race, breaks down the racial populations by population number and percentage in that specific ward. So these ward reports are just one page. And then we have planning area. Same thing, click on a map with the magnifying glass. And now you can see those indicators in that planning area. So these numbers will be different because the planning area is a different geography, but depending on what your questions are, like given that this is your organization's housing, you might be interested in this specific take on the data. So that's the infographic report piece. And like I said, you can, you can print these out. If you want to print them out, you can take a screenshot and put it into one of your PowerPoint presentations. So there's a lot of flexibility there for you to use.
Did you explain what the planning areas are?
You can do that if you want, just in terms of the definition. Joy?
Yeah, based on the comprehensive plan, did you explain how the planning areas came about?
No, I didn't get into that detail, but if you want to share that. Joy?
Yes, I just wanted to let the folks know that these 10 planning areas came out of the comprehensive plan. So we try to provide those numbers so that folks that live in specific areas can be aware of what the characteristics of the population is, so that they can associate those characteristics with the planning areas and what is being sort of proposed in the comprehensive plan for those areas. So the planning areas are very important, especially in terms of the comprehensive plan of the District of Columbia. Thank you.
Okay, so the next section we have here is demographic and economic analysis. And now this is pretty cool. This is like using geographic visualization to see how different indicators vary across DC. So let me just explain a little bit of what you're seeing here. So we've got 27 maps. You can navigate them using these little buttons here, and you can share them. We also have a little box here with the link, which you can copy. Additionally, you can click on this little arrow here, and a window will open up, which allows you to see all the maps in this scrollable format, and you can pick one that you can see, okay, maybe for I have this question, do they have a map for it? So I'm going to click on household income levels by census tract. I'll click on view. I'm going to close this little window here. And now you can see across all the census tracts in DC how income levels vary. Now a census tract is a smaller geographic breakdown that the census tract uses to analyze the statistics of the US states and cities and so forth. So if I mouse over one of these little colors here, like let's look at, this is Columbia Heights, one of the census tracts. you can see that the median household income for 2014 to 2018 is coming from the American Community Survey, that the median income in this particular tract is 179,000. So these maps allow you to get down into more detail. I'll show you another one. This is percentage of people in poverty by ward. Now, one of the things you're seeing here, I put down a little differently. This is another way, like you might want to get the information that's behind the map, the explanation. So we have these description pages, which tell you a little bit about what it means, and then some other information about what the layers are that we're using. Maybe you want to recreate some of these maps yourself and make them look the same way using ArcGIS. And we have a credit here, which is the source. So I'm going to go to this poverty one again, close this, and now you can see the differences. And sadly, as we know, most of the poverty is concentrated in Ward 7 and 8. Again, I can click on this and see the specific data point that's behind that color. And if you're just trying to know what this map is called the heat map. And you can see what the breakdowns are over here on the legend. So it goes from lower rate to higher rate. It gets darker, and we have 3 different levels just to try to help you discern what this specific color is over here and what that base level might be. Let me look at another one. So a couple of the maps we took from. I'll skip that, but I thought we kept one of those maps in, but we did. Okay, so section 3 is the categorical data search. Now, this is a section that's going to be very useful for people who want to do like some next level analysis on our actual data sets. This might be researchers or people in DC government agencies that have to produce a report or a memo, a presentation. Could be anyone that needs to actually see the data behind that's coming out of the Census Bureau, that's going to help them understand the various components of demographics, housing, business, social, and economic. And all these 5 different categories you can navigate to clicking on one of these buttons. So I'll click on demographic. And here what you're going to see is a list of all the data sets that we have available in our library that you can access and download. So I'll just pop on the 2020 redistricting data, and Joy can speak to this more if she wants to. This is the new data that has come out to help guide our redistricting effort, the redrawing of ward boundaries in the city. So I'll just click on that one there. And then sorry about that. Let me click on another one. This is a new set, so I don't know if we set the security levels correctly yet. Okay, so this is the demographic characteristics data. And this map here shows you the breakdown. So that breakdown is census tracts. And then you have the actual table here that allows you to see what the data is. And you can pull that up just to kind of, again, one of the things that data scientists do is they need to understand how the table structure is, so they can start to map out the methods that the variables they want to look at, and how they're going to approach the analysis methodologically. So by looking at this table here, that'll help inform some of those decisions. So over here, we have some brief description of what the map is, where the data is coming from, what the key data points are in this data set: age, sex, race, ethnicity, total housing units. And then we have some instructions here that tell you how to do things. You can also put in a place and go to a specific part of the map if you want to. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, and so forth. And then if you want to download it, sorry, my Zoom window is, there we go. My Zoom window is getting in the way here, but there's buttons here that let you do downloading, printing, and so forth. Okay, let's look at one more data set. So I showed you census tract one. Like I mentioned, we've also got it broken out by ward and planning area. This is a demographic characteristics website of the wards. Same layout with the table. Obviously, it's a smaller number of units of data, just 8 wards. And you've got a bunch of different demographic information here, including breakdowns by race to help you get an analytical perspective on what's going on in a specific ward.
Jamie,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chat and some folks are having problems hearing you. There's an echo. So, and your voice is going in and out. So can you try to probably stay steady and as close as possible so that the volume will be steady?
Okay. Is everybody hearing me better?
That's better.
All right, I'll just sit closer to the computer. And I apologize that you weren't able to, you got some of that cut in and out. So if you missed something, please, when we get to the question and answer section, ask me what I might have been saying. Another way to explore the demographic data is this way, by using these little check marks here. So if you click on, for example, demographic, you'll see the demographic characteristics. We have economic characteristics. You can look at those data sets. I have a little problem with this. I'm gonna have to check into it, but this is normally you would be able to click around on these to see the different data sets. And then you might want to put, again, we have some tags here for if you want to look at wards and some of the other geographies. Okay, the last point here is, last section is our library. And these are some of the various multimedia assets and reports that we've created within the Office of Planning. First one is reports and studies. And if you're interested in downloading one of our reports, you can certainly do that. This is one, the impact of COVID on DC's workforce. My colleague Jose Funes wrote it. It's a pretty cool report. As you can see here, you can read it online. You can navigate using this drop down here to go to specific pages and explore and so forth. You can also see the full details by clicking on that link, and you'll be able to see like what the summary of the report is, what some of the key things were, and you can go back to the document. So in addition to reports, we have a couple other items. We've got story maps, which are pretty cool. This is Cherry Bloom Fest, the story map with Joy, and my colleague Eddie Lucy worked on. It's a pretty neat interactive story map about the cherry blossoms in DC. So this is more like a presentation, visual type of journey that you can go on and see how our data and information actually tells a story. So by clicking on, you click on that arrow on the bottom, and then you can scroll through and see maps of where the blossoms are, the main blossoms in the city, and it zeroes in on different things. So we've got a couple different story maps in here. These two were created by our Historical Preservation Society. One is on the history of Berry Farm, and then we have one on Keenan Park. And then we also have the Food Policy Group in Oakey. And
Jamie, your voice is fading again.
okay, I'll speak a little slower.
Okay.
Causing that, so I don't really sitting as close to my computer as possible. Okay, so that's the site. Why don't we move into the question and answer section, since some people might not have heard what what I said. And how do you want to approach these questions? Do we just work through the chat?
Yes, yes, we can work through the chat. There was someone put one in the question and answer that I don't see in the chat. We'll go ahead and do that one first and then just focus on the chat. The one in the Q&A is they ask how this new website relates, if at all, to Open Data DC.
Right. Okay, so I guess I would see this site as a subset of Open Data DC. Our data is also available on the Open Data DC site. The Open Data DC site is by Octo, so that allows you to get a much broader set of DC government data. But if you're over on the Open Data site and you remember, oh, I need 2020 census data, you can also find it there.
Okay.
But in terms of the main difference here is that we have a website that's really packaged our information specifically on this plan.
Okay, and then someone else had a similar question about the difference between this site and DC zoning maps and the DC Atlas.
Okay, so I haven't really used those two sites, but this would definitely be different. I would have to, if you would just put your email in the chat box, I'll take a look at those sites and I can.
Jamie, can you speak up? I'm not sure if I'm the only one having a problem, but your voice is fading.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, try to keep that level, please. Thanks. Can you repeat your answer?
Yeah, what I said was I haven't looked at the DC zoning map and DC Atlas site. So if the person will put their email in, I'll just take a look and then I can explain what the differences are. There's a question here in the chat, how we will access the new platform. That would be through the website address, which is in our PowerPoint. It's also right here on my screen. It's opdatahub.dc.gov.
Okay. The next question someone had, they'd asked, through this data hub, are you able to find credit unions, banks, or ATMs by ward?
The locations?
Yes.
Okay, we don't have that information on here, but if you go, you can reach out to the mayor, just started up a new office. It's basically the Office of Financial Wellbeing for the city. It's the mayor's Office of Financial Wellbeing, and you can reach out to them, and I'm assuming they have a whole bunch of resources that would allow you to get that information. Do you want to read the questions, or should I just scroll through the chat?
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. I think, let's see. The next one, trying to go down through all the different ones that are talking about the sound. Does the mapping give census tracts or other tracts that are designated, opportunity zones, inclusionary zoning, things such as that?
Well, the maps don't specifically point out those census tracts. You would have to, Joy, would they reach out to us for that list, or would they need to do something on their own?
Right. In terms of like opportunity zones and the general questions that have been asked, those are characteristics which we can provide the shape files for whomever needs to map those, and they will add those attributes to the shape files and create those maps. But the site does not automatically do that for you.
Okay. And then the next one, can users create a map on a specific characteristic at track level, say like access to a vehicle?
You did it, that would be the transportation data we have. You have to download it from the library that I showed you and make your map that way. Whatever mapping tool it is. You don't have functionality to actually make their own maps in the website. But that's a great point to bring up. We're gathering feedback on the site as people use it. And when you scroll down to the bottom of the website, you'll see how to send us the feedback. And if you see things while you're using it and you want to make some suggestions, definitely reach out to us.
Okay. There was another question. Does the hub contain information about small businesses in the district?
Joy, could you speak to that?
Okay, so let me go back. So the hub basically is built from the Census Bureau's data that is managed by the State Data Center. We've added a couple other data points there. So the hub is not like the place for all possible type of data that might come out, that might be local data to the District of Columbia. So that's the important point. If there are data like the vehicle registration data and some of the other data sets that have been mentioned, again, what we can do is to provide the shape files, geographies, and the folks can use those characteristics file to link with the shape files and produce their maps. So it's not a data set or rather a site that carries every possible characteristics data for the District of Columbia. It's mainly population demographics driven, population demographics, housing, social and economic data that are mainly released from the Census Bureau's files.
Thank you. Let's see. I think I have run through all the questions in the chat. Please feel free, other folks, to put more questions in the chat. Let's see. Oh, new question. Is there a specific person to contact to create maps with designated census tracts?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Oh, I think they're asking if there's a particular person at OP that would be a good contact person if you're trying to create maps with designated census tracts.
That will be me. And again, I'm Joy Phillips. I didn't have a chance to introduce myself. And I'm the Associate Director of the Data Analysis and Visualization Unit. So any maps that's needed, please contact me and I will respond as to whether or not the request is possible or doable. And yeah, just contact me.
Wonderful.
And that's joy.phillips@dc.gov.
Oh, the person who asked the question, oh, joy.phillips@dc.gov.
Yes.
And that's Phillips with 2 L's, it appears.
Yes.
Wonderful. So we've had kind of a slowdown in questions. Would it help folks, I'm wondering if it would help folks who are watching, if you were to kind of go through and demonstrate creating something, think of a question and then kind of drill down in a show how to example.
Okay.
Just so that they can kind of see what it's like to interact.
All right, that sounds good. So I'm going to go to profiles here. Let's say I want to understand some of the income breakdown. I come into the site and so I get a question, an analytical question. What are some of the different ways to look at income in DC? We have a talk that we have to give of income. So you go into our profile section here, click profiles, and then as you look at the report, now obviously you'll need to, one of the things you want to do is come in and explore first, so that when you do have questions come up, you can say, oh, I think I can go over the demographic, how to get some of that information. That's, make the process more efficient. But if you look at this little section here on the report, you'll see some of the different ways to look at income in DC. So we have a wealth index, which is something that Esri produces. It breaks down like how wealth in DC compares to other states. You can look at income per capita, You can look at median household, median disposable income, median household income, and so forth. And then you can see all this top line information across a number of different other areas. And additionally, your question might be, okay, I want to look at a ward or a specific planning area, and you can also click those buttons and do that. Let's look at another more complex. So here's a geographic question you might have. Maybe you're working on a project and someone says, how does the level of poverty, how many people are living in poverty across DC's wards? So I can click on that map. First thing I want to do is get an understanding of what the information is, which is what the subscription page is. I can view it, click on the picture here, and then you can see right away that poverty is much higher on this part of the city in Ward 7 and 8, and it kind of runs on a northwest to southeast axis. So you can see the wealthier neighborhoods are in the northwest, and as it moves down. So you can click on the map and get a specific data point. Like say somebody says, what's the poverty level in Ward 7? Well, it's going to take you a little longer to look at a spreadsheet that you might download from our library than going to our map here and just clicking on that geography, and you can see the percent. I'll show you one more in the data search. So getting the data is going to be provide you a lot more wealth of information. So if you're thinking about number of different dimensions of information that you might want to get on DC, and maybe you're using Excel or Tableau, getting the data from here is the way to go. So I'm going to click on the demographic characteristics of DC, and I want to see what the total housing units are. I want to get an understanding of what total housing units are in the city and the voting age population. And I can download this data, or I can just look at the table since it's a quick question. And you can see, here's the number of citizens that are in the voting age population, and then we have it broken out by gender.
Great. Another question. Are you able to overlay multiple characteristics at a time? So I don't know if that was a clear enough question.
Could the person kind of like give an example?
Oh, actually, that was my question.
Oh, that's your question. Okay.
Yeah, it would be, say you're interested in poverty levels and renter households and are you able to do overlays on the same map?
Okay, so you can't do, you're not going to see layers on this map. You would have to make your own map in ArcGIS, or again, you can reach out to us and we can give you some guidance on that. The way to do it would be you can download the data and make your map in ArcGIS for one, create those layers. And we have a lot of layers on our open data site, which would allow you to do that. They're pre-made. That's opendata.dc.gov. Or you can go bring it into Excel or Tableau and cross-tabulate the information.
Okay, so in effect, could we say that this tool is useful for people with many different levels of sophistication? So you can go here as a quick resource for demographic data about renter households or poverty or education levels, things like that, as compared to searching all over the internet. But then also people with higher levels of sophistication can use this as a place to download information to manipulate for multiple different categories of information to manipulate for their own research.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's like what I was saying earlier, the site's created to provide resources to multiple different audience levels.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking, I know a lot of the folks, our members, and we as CNHED have to write grant reports and contract reports a lot. And we are talking many times about the people we serve and then trying to compare that to, demographics in DC in general, or, the ward that we are in. And this could be a very useful quick stop to be able to find comparative data.
Exactly. And that's quite an undertaking to write grant. So I feel for you.
Yeah, yes, Scott, that's an interesting view. So you can go into probably like the social characteristics by census tract, and you can identify the census tracts that are of interest to that grant. You can get this, the socioeconomic data there. Then you can go to the housing census tract layer and select again the housing characteristics related to that census tract. And the same thing with the demographic and so on and so on. So that's how you sort of build that table, and then go and then and create that map or that profile to match your needs, and then submit your grant.
Yeah, and I do want to, give a special thanks to the State Data Center, because CNHED worked with you all a couple of years, like over a previous couple of years on a couple of projects. One, doing a community development analysis of the Deanwood area, and the data.
Oh, right, with Deborah Crane Camp.
Yes, yes, and the data that you all had already digested was invaluable. And then also CNHED, along with Urban Greater DC, maintains a website called Housing Insights, which contains information on subsidized housing in the district. But then we use a lot of the data resources that you all have put together to put things like grocery stores and ATM access, banks and things like that, schools. And so we are able to see in that Housing Insights tool that we use the neighborhood context, what kind of neighborhood amenities there are around subsidized affordable housing. And so that's sort of like the, if you have a greater level of sophistication, you could take a lot of your products and create something new and useful on your own. And so, your state data center has been incredibly useful to us in multiple different contexts. And so that's part of the reason why we wanted to hold this presentation with you, is to make our members more aware of what all you have to offer.
Right. I'm glad to hear that, but I think the main takeaway as well is that the data that we are focusing on is data that's produced by the Census Bureau, because that's the partnership that we have. So all the other data that folks were mentioning, those can be added, they can complement and supplement what's here, but our focus is the data that's produced by the US Census Bureau. We're just trying to make it more accessible to our data users.
Wonderful. So thank you very much. Do we have, Hallie and Raina, I don't see any other questions. Don't want to cut anybody off early. I think we're good. And for those folks who asked, we always do, for anybody who RSVP'd, we always do send out a link of the recording of the presentation. So everyone will be receiving that who registered for the webinar. And so thank you both to Joy Phillips and to Jamie Chandler for the presentation today. We really appreciate your time and in presenting today, but also the time and effort you all have put into this partnership with the US Census Bureau and in creating this incredibly useful tool.
Okay, thank you, Scott. And I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties that we had today, but I hope that it was a positive experience for everyone. Thank you.
Sure, and no worry about the technical stuff. We all experience it all the time. It's part of the new age we're living in.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you all, and hope you all have a great rest of your day. Try to get outside and enjoy a little bit of the sun.
Yeah, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
To you as well.
Okay.